Malaysia is located in the southeast of the Asian continent. Therefore, this region is often referred to as Southeast Asia. There are over 28 million inhabitants in the country. Malaysia consists out two parts, Peninsular Malaysia, located between Thailand in the north and Singapore in the south, and the two provinces Sabah and Sarawak, located on Borneo. As of 2014, the number of people populating Malaysia is a gross estimate of 29 million people. 73% of this population live in the urban areas and 27% live in rural areas. Having had an interesting past and being a part of the international spice route many hundreds of years ago, Malaysia has turned into a mosaic of cultures. Everything from its people to its architecture reflect a colorful heritage and an amalgamate culture. However, as Malaysia is located in the middle of the monsoon area, it is really prone to strong winds, heavy rains, and floods.
Hi, my name is Basit.
I am Shazia. As a local native of Malaysia and environmental practitioner, I know Malaysia can be faced with many disasters.
From storms to floods, Malaysians must always be prepared for any natural or man-made disasters.
And to help you prepare for an emergency, we have prepared the following video.
As a resident, I strongly urge you to follow the steps laid out in this video, and it may save your life.
Preparedness is the best way to protect against natural and man-made disasters. But how do we prepare? The answer is simple, by following these 4 easy steps. Step 1. Be informed. Step 2. Make a plan. Step 3. Get a kit. And Step 4. Get involved. One of the major parts of getting informed is understanding the potential threats you and your family may encounter. As Malaysia faces many different hazards, its residents need to be prepared. They include strong winds, landslides, and floods. Knowing what to do before, during, and after a disaster may help reduce stress, fear, and possibly save your life. That is why the first step of being prepared is to be informed. Several resources are available to help inform in emergency preparedness. These include the local news media, Malaysia Emergency Hotline 999, printed brochures, social media, and an internet webpage managed by the National Disaster Management Agency Prime Minister Department.
The most devastating natural disasters occurred in Malaysia is flood. From Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak, there are a total of 189 river basins that flow directly to the South China Sea. And of these 189 river basins, 85 of them are prone to flooding. The estimated area prone to flooding is around 29,800 square kilometers, or 9% of the total Malaysian area. This affects 4.82 million people, or around 22% of the total Malaysian population. Floods in Malaysia can be classified into 2 categories: flash floods and monsoon floods. The difference between these 2 floods are the duration in which the river level recedes back to the normal level. Flash flood usually take around an hour or so. However, monsoon floods last for a month. Local weather changes and insufficient urban drainage system are the main causes of flash flood events in the Klang Valley area.
The recent flood in the east coast of Malaysia has been the first that the nation has experienced in the last 3 decades, and it has caused more than 1 million ringgit in damage and total loss of income. The flooding has been considered a normal occurrence in Malaysia. The response mechanisms are in place. However, the scales and severity of this year's flooding overwhelm the systems. The failures to function left the victims stranded without emergency relief such as clean water, clean clothing, food, and access to medical aids.
From 1919 to 2014, the highest frequency of natural disaster that occur in Malaysia is floods at high percentage of 62.5%. The mortality cases due to these floods are 24.1%. Floods are also the highest cause for economic concerns, as the average annual loss due to floods are about 1,200 million USD. That is why it is important to know if you live in an area or zone that needs to evacuate.
These incidents have highlighted the need for an enhanced and complete disaster monitoring mechanism that is able not only to predict the occurrence of such disaster through the monitoring and identification of indicators that precede this event, but also put in place local mechanisms that allow for emergency and rescue personnel to respond immediately to this situation, thereby reducing human suffering and damage to property before larger support mechanism response. More importantly, this event has demonstrated the need for states and local agencies to build their capacity in order to implement effectively standard operating procedure during disaster as set by the National Security Councils.
In order to stay informed once flooding season begins, be sure to monitor any rains and rise in water level. Important information about flooding updates may come via television, radio, social medias, and emergency warning system.
During most flooding seasons, more people die or get injured after the storm rather than they do during the actual flooding period. Among the causes of injury are electrocutions, motor vehicle accidents, injury related to debris removals, and infectious diseases. To prevent injury, keep in mind the following safety guidelines. Be sure to drink clean water and avoid drinking water that has been contaminated. Wash hands with soap before touching food, also while preparing food or holding items that have been contaminated by floodwaters. Do not eat food that has been contaminated by floodwaters. Dispose all the food that has been contaminated and use sterile water to wash food containers, bathing, preparing meals, or providing infant formula milk. If you run into wild animals that are poisonous, call the authorities for help. Make sure all electrical sources are safe and not exposed to water source before turning on the main switch to avoid electric shock. If the power is not connected, use a flashlight as a light source. And if there is a suspicion of gas leak, close the gas source, open all windows and doors, exit the house immediately.
Before a disaster strikes, it is important for Malaysians to plan in advance what they will do in case of an emergency. Being able to quickly act on a plan rather than preparing in the spur of the moment can help you and your family mitigate the impact of a disaster. That is why the second step of being prepared is to make a plan.
Say, you and your family may not be together during emergency occur. It's important to create an emergency plan that your family comfortable with. This plan will help you before, during, and after a disaster. The main goal of this plan is to establish a plan for communication. A long-distance relative is the best, as local phone line may be damaged. In Malaysia, there are no emergency contact card system. Thus, we recommend each citizen to have emergency contact cards, and in it contains your contact number, number of local authorities, an address of pre-established meeting place, and the card should kept laminated in your wallet, purse or backpack. In the event of approaching floods, it is important to take the following action. Make sure all electric switches and main switch is turned off to prevent the electrical shock. Follow the instruction of authorities. Make sure your house is locked and the item is stored in the high and safe place before making transfers. Identify individual who needs a special care. Always be cautious when driving in the rainy season or flood and use the safe route that has been identified. Do not drive throughout the flood due to concern that the vehicle will be drifted away. If caught in a flood, contact the authority for the help by reporting your condition and position. Supervise the children, then do not let them play in flooding area. If there is a need to evacuate, your family emergency plan should include evacuation, location, and supply needs. Since we live in high-populated area, it is easier to evacuate sooner than later, especially with family with small children or family member with functional needs.
When an evacuation order is given, evacuation centers will be open where no one will be turned away and essential needs will be provided. While evacuation centers are an option to seek for shelter during a disaster, remember, they are a last resort. Evacuation centers are designed for protection and not for comfort. You can always visit www.met.gov.my and portalbencana.ndcc.gov.my for more information. No family emergency plan will be complete without an emergency supply kit. When a disaster strikes, local responders may not be immediately be available. They may be blocked by debris or responding to locations that are most severely impacted. This in turn may lead to emergency responders not be able to provide help right away. This vital part in your emergency plan is the third step to disaster preparedness, and that is why you should get a kit.
An emergency flight kit is a collection of basic items. It should prepare you and your family to self-sufficient for about 3 days. Keep in mind that hazards at your area is unpredictable. It may cause difficulties for first responders from reaching you quickly, so you may need to rely on your resources for a longer period.
We came up with the idea of having an emergency flight kit, or known as EF kit. This EF kit is classified into 3 types: Type A, B, and C. The purpose of this kit is to prepare the community, especially who are living in the potential risk area. EF Kit Type A comprises of tools and educational material about flood prevention activities. The tools are life jackets, a life raft, a first aid kit, a torchlight, and a plastic container. This plastic container is used to keep all the important documents. This EF Kit Type A will be distributed to the target community that lives in the east coast of Malaysia. Each of the family are provided with one EF Kit Type A. The kit will help the affected community during floods for traveling to shelter locations. During the distribution period, an awareness campaign will be held. The main objective of this campaign is to educate the community on the necessary steps that need to be taken in order to prepare themselves for flood. The eastern coast of Peninsular Malaysia usually experience the most devastating effect by the coastal flooding. This was due to the heavy rainfall and also the northeast monsoon that occurs between October and March. However, the monsoon period in Malaysia is unpredictable. Therefore, the distribution of the EF Kit Type A can be done in any time of the year along with the campaign. The EF Kit Type B consists of tools needed at the shelter home during the flood season. The aim is to fulfill the need of the affected community at the shelter homes. This kit includes a square tent for each family and antibacterial liquid soap. The EF Kit Type B will be distributed at the selected shelter homes. The inclusion criteria for selecting the shelter homes is that it is situated at the highland and big enough to feed 100 families at a time. The EF Kit Type C contains interactive guidelines for the whole family. It includes brochures and templates that supply the family with the knowledge and information on the prevention of the flood had occurred. A talk will also be delivered regarding proper hygiene and healthy lifestyle by the Ministry of Health. We hope that this kit will help the community.
The budget are divided yearly by percentage. During the first year, 50% is allocated for the purpose of developing the EF kit. The amount will also be used for campaign and distribution specifically for the community in the east coast of Malaysia. For the second year, the budget allocated is about 30%. This will also be used for the implementation to all parts of Malaysia. By this time, all the collaboration and partnerships has been established. For the long term, we expect that this kit will be distributed all around Asian region. We hope that in the future years, the EF kit will be able to reduce the consequences of flood such as the number of casualty and morbidity cases, economic loss, and psychological impact.
Coordinating with other members of your community on how your neighborhood is going to respond to possible threats can be valuable when a disaster hits. That's why the final step in emergency preparedness is to get involved. They should be a safety and preparedness advocates in the community, collaborating with Malaysia Red Cross Society, Mercy Malaysia, JPAM, and the Ministry of Defence. Whether it's a major flood or just a bad fall, the true first responders during an emergency are generally our family and neighbors. Consider informing your neighbors of your emergency plan and preparedness and encourage them to make their own plan and coordinate with them. Whether it's your neighborhood, school, or place of business, your simple action to prepare yourself and your family will make our community a safe and secure place.